Talking about the inspiration that clothing had on the culture of hip-hop, such as who wore the clothes and what brands.
What are the differences between hip-hop clothing then and versus now?
Back then they had, dashikis and high water pants. Now we wearing skinny jeans, baggy pants, and Nikes.
Urban kids lived hip-hop, where now you can be a part of urban culture, but not necessarily be a b-boy or b-girl. You can live right now and not necessarily wear the clothing, where at that time, it was just the clothing, right? The clothing was hip-hop. Hip-hop was the clothing because that was what was going on in the air. Kind of like kids today are getting the high top fade, which is coming back from the hip-hop eras of the 80s. We lived it. The average kid, instead of wearing the Michael Jordan, we wore Pumas. We wore shell-toe Adidas. You wore fat laces street.
Do you know any of the popular brands of clothing mostly used in the hip hop culture? If so, what are these brands?
You got Rockaware. You got Mecca, Fubu. You got a lot of them clothing lines. A lot of people wearing their videos. I can do some hip hop too. I learned this one.
I also hope that this helped you in your everyday life. And I hope this also helped in your level of knowledge based on the culture.
We wore Fila, we wore cross colors came out of that. For Us, By Us, Fubu came out of that, and now he's sitting on Shark Tank. There was this clothing called Damage. There was a clothing that looked like it was like inmate clothing. It was orange and it looked like an inmate jumpsuit. And so we made a list of clothing based on that boycott and them saying that they didn't want to wear our clothing. Interesting enough, Calvin Klein, after his sales of his clothing plummeted down through the floor, he went out and he got a Caucasian rapper by the name of Marky Mark from Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Took to honor. And so we went in from the afro into hairstyles like the curl. This is a long jerry curl. This processed stuff went into your scalp. We went into the high top fade. Kid play with the high top fade. We went into the Gumby. Bobby Brown had the Gumby and the slat and fade. We went from there. We went kind of back into the waves. We're starting to get waves a little again. And so now y'all are coming back with where you're getting the high top fade is coming back. We even had this thing called shag, man. It was just a strip of hair that went across the back of your head. And sometimes brothers even had a daggone tail. And I don't know what that was about, but I can't find that one. I had a little tail for a second, it did, bro. And so that is, those are just some of the major hairstyles that were associated with hip hop.
The high top fade, the afro still in, the mohawks in now. All these ziggly lines on the side of the head, braids. I mean, everybody looks like they're from a different country, but it's a hairstyle.